Everything stopped as soon as Tamar uttered those words. Towanda didn't yell or quarrel. She sat there with her hands shaking and her eyes wide as if someone had finally told her that the one thing she had been hoping for years would never come to pass. $50,000. Not lost, not misinterpreted, not missing, absent. Additionally, it wasn't mentioned in cryptic or whispered behind closed doors this time. Interviews. There was no way to undo anything after it was made public. This family was already breaking under the strain just a few days prior. Subtle unfollows and late-night posts that seemed more like cautions than quotations. Towanda declared to her supporters that she was done keeping secrets that were never hers. Without mentioning names, Tamar retaliated, claiming that certain people managed to survive by rewriting the past. Everyone knew that something unpleasant was about to happen. However, nobody thought it would blow out like this. Because it wasn't just about dollars when Tamar eventually disclosed what she claims actually happened to that lost money. It was about control, trust, and years of bitterness, hidden under forced grins and familial allegiance. Towanda's disintegration was gradual. Silence allowed it to gently seep in. She tried to hide through tears, via what appeared to be a realization that the ground beneath them had vanished. Messages that were leaked are now coming to light. Fans of earlier discussions were never intended to be seen. The internet is tearing itself apart in an attempt to determine who is lying and who is finally telling the truth, while insiders are speaking and other family members are responding. Here's the scary bit though. When Towanda does reveal her side, everything this family has spent decades defending could be destroyed. That night, Towanda didn't sleep. She paced back and forth in her living room, repeating Tamar's comments over and again, like a painful echo she couldn't turn off. According to someone who spoke with her on the phone until almost dawn, $50,000. The confidence in Tamar's voice as she stated the number was more painful than the number itself. Not a query, not a suspect, not a proclamation. With silent sobs, Towanda continued to say the same thing. She is aware of my reaction to that. She is aware. The damage had already begun to spread by dawn. There were clips of Tamar's revelation all over the place, cut into brief, harsh sound bites that eliminated any subtlety. Growing up watching this family interact, fans seen Towanda's face freeze in amazement, swallow hard, and refuse to let her eyes well up with tears. Fall. Comment sections become battlefields. Some claimed to have always sensed things wasn't quite right. Others vehemently defended Towanda, pointing out to everyone how frequently she had stood up when others failed. The distinction between suspicion and allegiance quickly became hazy. Meanwhile, Tamar was not going to back down. Before most people were even awake, she posted a lengthy caption about survival and truth. She wrote about being silenced for years due to an internalized fury that consumed her. She didn't have to give Towanda's name outright. Everyone understood who she was referring to. I protected people who didn't protect me, she stated in her letter. Within minutes, followers were analyzing every word, taking screenshots, sharing, and picking sides. And I'm done pretending that didn't cost me something. The timing was what made it worse. This wasn't just an old family dispute coming up again. It occurred at a time when Towanda had at last begun to find some calm, at least in public. She had been discussing recovery and moving away from turmoil. She really thought the worst was behind her. According to friends, that illusion was totally destroyed by Tamar's revelation. It pulled her back into what she believed to be a permanently lost time. Then the initial leak occurred. An old group chat screenshot, readable but grainy. One message was particularly noteworthy. We cannot allow this to become yet another mess. It was readable. It already is. Someone else said. The initials were clearly visible, but the name at the top of the chat was blurry. Fans thought it was Towanda right away. It proved nothing, according to her supporters. According to her detractor, it was proof of guilt. As usual, the truth appeared to be entangled in the middle. At last, Towanda spoke, but only to a small group of people. A voicemail started to circulate in private, then semi-publicly, before being removed once more. Her voice in it sounded strained and brittle. She expressed feelings of humiliation, betrayal, and ambush. She maintained that she had never stolen anything or taken money that wasn't rightfully hers. I was trying to fix a problem, she stated. The final statement, I was trying to keep us together, struck a deep chord since it recalled something she had said in an interview years prior, when supporters believed she was discussing emotional assistance rather than a financial catastrophe. Insiders started to fill in the blanks, or at the very least, one person who claimed to have attended several family meetings at the time portrayed a tense home. They claimed that the topic of money was brought up multiple times, always in whispers, and that someone would always change the topic afterward. They said that Towanda was in charge of things. She didn't ask for the part, but she also didn't turn it down. They claimed that as soon as something went wrong, responsibility turned into blame. Everything was compounded by the mother's involvement. Although she hadn't spoken anything in public, she was calling everyone in private to attempt to manage the fallout. She allegedly pleaded with Towanda not to escalate or react rashly. She also asked Tamar to refrain from publishing so that things could calm down. Tamar declined. She told her mother that she had been urged to wait, be patient, and maintain harmony for far too long. For whom is peace? She purportedly inquired. Social media merely fueled the flames, because it was never peaceful for me. Videos from the past that fans used to laugh at have surfaced again, but they are now viewed suspiciously. Tamar made a joke about always being the last to know. Towanda is grinning while discussing financial problems. Suddenly, even jokes about family finances were heavier and darker, like hints that everyone had overlooked. Timelines were created by TikTok creators. Thousands of words were used in Twitter threads. Convinced that the truth was right in front of them, everyone turned into detectives. That afternoon, Towanda attempted to log on once, but she quickly logged out again. The remarks were harsh. She was directly accused of stealing by several. Others pleaded with her to explain. Neither could she. Someone close to her claims that she stayed in her car for almost an hour, tears streaming down her lap as she stared at the driving wheel. I gave everything, she insisted. I provided. Tamar went live that night, her eyes blazing but exhausted. Everything, and this is how it ends. She said that she hadn't intended to divulge anything that evening, and that she was pushed too far. During what she called one of the darkest periods of her life, she asserted that the money was meant to be there when she needed it most. She refrained from crying. Viewers were divided by that as well. Some believed she was credible because of her composure. It made her vicious. According to others, Tamar took direct aim at that. I've already shed all of my tears. Now I just want answers, she stated. There was then another leak. This is a purported correspondence. Someone wrote about temporarily transferring money to prevent outside issues. Another response cautioned that doing so without complete disclosure could permanently undermine trust. The dates correspond to the time frame Tamar mentioned. Even though some of the sender identities were removed, there was still enough to cause mayhem. In one response, Towanda's name was included with the words, "I'll take care of it." These 3 words now held a great deal of weight. Towanda's response was instinctive and quick. She reportedly contacted her mother, then her attorney, before losing it all. Someone who overheard her that evening claimed that her cries were frantic and terrified, not at all like the composed demeanor she had always displayed in public. She persisted in questioning why Tamar would act in this way at this time, and why she wouldn't first speak with her in private. The simplicity of Tamar's reaction, which was communicated through physical contact, was unsettling. Years ago, nobody paid attention. The story took a different turn as darkness fell. After leaving a comment on a post, a distant relative swiftly removed it, but not before screenshots circulated. You guys were fighting about a single sum, as if that was the sole problem. That single sentence sent shockwaves. The commenter wrote, Towanda saw a change in the fandom. If there was more money, more secrets, then this wasn't just a misunderstanding. It was a pattern, and patterns don't happen by accident. She wrote to a friend late at night that she felt trapped, as if no matter what she said, the story had already been written. She implied that Tamar was not an expert, and that certain decisions were made under duress, driven by devotion and fear. Tanda wrote that she believes she wants the truth. However, she will suffer more from the truth than I will. By daybreak, that message had leaked. Tamar was already planning her next move at that point. Insiders claim that if Towanda attempted to fabricate the tale, she had more screenshots, messages, and evidence that she was prepared to share. She felt empowered, even righteous. She was toughened by years of rejection. She said to a close friend that she wasn't attempting to ruin her sister, but she was also no longer going to defend lies. When Towanda read it by herself at home, something inside of her finally snapped. She picked up her phone and entered a message that she had not intended to send, raw and unadulterated. It was addressed to Tamar. I'll put anything out if you want it. It was readable. However, once I expressed my knowledge, there is no turning back. Before sending it, she gave it a long look. Tamar noticed it nearly right away, and she didn't answer for the first time since this whole thing started. After Tamar read that note, there was more stillness than any disagreement they had ever had. According to those close to her, she read Towanda's comments again while staring at her phone till the screen faded. There is no turning back. That wasn't dangerous. It served as a caution. Tamar felt a twist in her chest that wasn't anger for the first time since she'd spoken about the missing money. It was fear. Towanda, however, felt oddly serene. It was stable in a manner she hadn't felt in years. Yet it wasn't serene or relieved. The serenity that results from realizing you've already lost everything you were attempting to defend. She began collecting items, including phones she had stored in a drawer because she couldn't bring herself to erase them. Old notebooks and email printouts she had never thrown away. Every object felt like a brick taken from a wall she had constructed in order to survive. Another insider spoke up by noon. This person is claiming to be a former assistant who worked for the family at the precise time the money vanished. They talked about pandemonium, last-minute contract changes, mounting bills, and one sister freaking out behind closed doors while the other attempted to maintain a flawless exterior. They said that the $50,000 was more than just cash in an account. It was a lifeline designed to deal with a private and urgent matter. Trust disappeared along with that lifeline. The assistant implied that the urgency had to do with someone who wasn't a member of the immediate family and whose name had been carefully omitted from all correspondence. Fans went crazy over that detail. There was a lot of speculation. Was it a manager, a partner, or a covert deal that nobody was supposed to be aware of? Darker, angrier, and more intrusive remarks were made. People no longer merely wanted to know what had happened. They wanted to know who. At last, the mother addressed Towanda directly. Someone who overheard the call described it as one of the most agonizing discussions they had ever had. Reminding daughter of all they had endured together, the mother pleaded with her to halt this before it became any worse. After listening patiently, Towanda apparently murmured something that made her mother cry. She said, "I've already given myself up once. I'm unable to do it once again." Tamar sensed that change as well. For the first time since the revelation, she shared a little video in which her voice was shaking. She stated that she could no longer pretend, even though she never wanted this to become a public trial. She acknowledged that she had withheld some information out of fear and had not yet disclosed it. Fear of causing harm to those she cared about and fear of being held accountable once more. "But I won't be scared into silence," she declared. Towanda replied, "Not this time," but she didn't include receipts. It involved a tale. She abruptly went live. No warning, no announcement. Her eyes were sunken and her face was worn out, as if she had been crying for days. At first, she made no mention of the $50,000. Rather, she described years of being the one in charge, the one who fixed things, and the sister who everyone turned to when things went wrong. She discussed being trusted with items that no one else dared to handle. Her voice broke halfway through. She acknowledged that there was a time when things were going south and a hasty choice had to be made. She claimed to have been informed that it was only temporary. She expressed her belief that she was shielding the family from a far worse situation. She didn't claim to have moved the money, but she also didn't claim to have taken it for herself. The internet went crazy. Tamar's hands trembled as she watched in real time. This seemed like confirmation to her. It seemed to Towanda supporters that someone had finally explained the unworkable situation she had been placed in. A few minutes later, Tamar broke her own stillness with one post. Temporary does not equate to secret. The next leak appeared at that time. Days after the money vanished, Towanda and an unidentified individual had a private text conversation. "I did what I had to do. I hope one day they understand," Towanda wrote in it. The response was icy and definitive. "They won't. They never do." The consequences were catastrophic. Towanda hadn't acted by herself. Another person had been directing, perhaps even putting pressure on her. At that moment, fans started focusing on others in the family's immediate vicinity. Old names came up again. Friends, advisors, and former supervisors who had disappeared from the scene all felt important again. One of them, who is now well known in their own right, made an ambiguous statement denying any role in financial decisions, which only served to suspicion even more. Tamar was falling apart behind the scenes. Friends claimed that she felt more deeply betrayed than she had acknowledged in public. The money was no longer the only factor. It was about being left out, about choices being made without her input, and about being expected to move on and smile. Another message, more irate than the last one, was sent to Towanda. It said, "You don't get to call that protection. You decided for me." Towanda remained silent. Rather, she told her other sibling everything over the phone. That sibling claims that Towanda's revelation altered their perspective of the whole circumstance. Threats of exposure, external pressure, and having to choose between two catastrophes, one financial and one intensely personal, were all part of it. According to reports, the sibling pleaded with Towanda to keep it a secret. Towanda expressed her frustration at having to carry it alone. Social media quickly became aware of the family's breakup. After liking tomorrow's post, one sibling added a mysterious remark regarding the necessity for daylight for truth. Another shared an emoji of prayer without providing any context. Every action, every quiet, is interpreted by fans. Insiders claimed that the family group conversation had completely stopped. Everyone was at a loss for words. The mother then committed an error. She apparently acknowledged that she knew the money had been transferred and consented to it. At the time, in an emotional phone call that she believed to be private, someone overheard the call. That information was leaked. The story abruptly changed once more. This wasn't simply Towanda's problem if the mother was aware of it. One person had been left to answer for a family decision. Tamar was taken by surprise. Late that evening, she stated that she had spent years thinking she was kept in the dark for her own benefit. As it turned out, she writes, "I was kept in the dark so I wouldn't ask questions." As a result, the comment sections became hostile. The mother was accused of favoritism by some. Tamar was accused of rudeness by others. The suffering of the family was now amusement, examined in real time. Soon later, Towanda hit her breaking point. Someone close to her claims that she broke down in tears and reiterated that she had never intended to harm. Tamar, and that she had acted appropriately given the information at her disposal. She acknowledged that she ought to have told the truth sooner. She sobbed. I thought if I fixed it quickly enough, no one would ever know. I believed that I could save us. That was not directly heard by Tamar. She heard another rumor, a murmur that Towanda was getting ready to reveal who had forced her to make that choice. Insiders claimed that everyone would be shocked by such name. Tamar had publicly defended this person, whom she had a great deal of faith in at the time, and she had no idea that they were related to this. The strain became intolerable. Supporters waited. Media outlets hinted at impending disclosures. Commentators never stopped speculating. Towanda fell completely down. Tamar also left a final message before going missing. There won't be any more healing to discuss if my sister speaks what she's threatening to say. Towanda sent one last communication to a select number of folks late that evening. It was hefty and brief. It said, "Tomorrow, I gave up defending all of them." After that, nobody slept. When morning finally arrived, there was no respite. Panic ensued. Everyone connected to the family knew something was about to happen by the time the sun had risen. Warnings buzzed across phones. Nervous messages lighted up group chats. According to a leak, Towanda had set up a private sit-down interview with someone who is known for allowing people to talk themselves into corners rather than a friendly outlet. It was the same phrase that kept being whispered. She will actually say it. Tamar learnt about it from someone. Anything else? Just that seemed like another betrayal. According to reports, she silently sat in her kitchen and stared at the wall while reliving years' worth of memories that felt erratic all of a sudden. Moments that she had dismissed as misunderstandings suddenly appeared deliberate. Jokes that failed miserably. She was not allowed to attend meetings. The manner in which some choices were consistently displayed as completed. At first, the realization wasn't accompanied by tears. It was accompanied by numbness. Towanda, on the other hand, was falling apart in a different manner. She hardly said anything that morning. According to those who know her, she walked deliberately and slowly, as if she were getting ready for an anesthesia-free surgery. "I already lost my sister. At least now, I get my name back," she allegedly stated when asked if she was certain about carrying it out. That statement alone leaked online and threw fans into a frenzy. The interview was not broadcast right away. The cruel aspect was that, instead, teasers were released. A voiceover promising the whole truth, blurry frames, and brief segments. "I was told if I didn't handle it, everything would fall apart," Towanda said in one preview. In another, she was seen wiping, shedding tears, and declaring, "I protected someone who never protected me." There was no background or identity, but it was enough to ignite the internet. The waiting was too much for Tamar. Her composure finally broke as she abruptly went live. As she told the audience that she was sickened by seeing her sister alter history in real time, her voice trembled. Instead of accepting responsibility, she accused Towanda of getting ready to assign blame. "If you say my name, say it with your chest," she said, her eyes flaming. The words, "But don't you dare put this on someone who didn't have a choice," quickly caused controversy. Had no other option. Fans embraced it. Who was left with no other option? Was Tamar suggesting that there was pressure, compulsion, or something more sinister than poor judgment? There were a ton of theories in the comment sections. Timelines were examined by some, who made connections between that time frame and other scandals the family had just missed. No one could control the story's growing scope. Then, the most unsettling leak to yet emerged. A portion of a meeting that was purportedly recorded without everyone's knowledge years ago. "If this gets out, she'll never forgive us," said a voice that was thought to be "She doesn't need to know." "Not now," said another voice. Although the transcript didn't identify her, most people assumed she was Tamar. It was a cruel implication. Behind her back, decisions had been made on purpose. When Tamar saw it, she sobbed. Not in public, not on video. A friend claims that she broke down in tears and repeated, "They decided my life without me." At that point, the money didn't matter. The realization that the ones she trusted most had taken away. Her agency was what mattered. The wound was deeper than any accusation. The mother made one final attempt to step in. She called Wanda and pleaded with her to postpone the interview. She sobbed as she acknowledged that her fear had led her to accept the decision at the time, scandal-averse. Fearful of losing whatever they had constructed. Fearful of seeing her family fall apart. After listening, Towanda made a startling statement. "You let me take the fall so you wouldn't have to," she said. "That call went poorly. I've been bleeding for all of you ever since." Another name started to trend alongside the sisters in a matter of hours. In a preemptive statement, a trusted member of their inner circle, who had previously been referred to as family, denied any involvement in financial concerns. It was strange timing. People took notice right away. If you had nothing to conceal, why talk now? Almost immediately, conjecture evolved into accusation. Snippets of Towanda's interview were finally broadcast. She acknowledged in a lengthy video that she was approached in a time of crisis and informed that transferring the funds was the only option to stop something much worse. The individual who persuaded her, according to her, presented it as protection rather than thievery. She expressed her belief that she was giving herself up for the benefit of society as a whole. She sobbed, "I thought it was better to be the villain than to let everything burn." As Towanda continued, Tamar started to recognize the story. So she watched, trembling, from her own viewpoint, not Tawanda's. Now she could definitely recall that time, the abrupt shift in tone, the artificial optimism.